Not only are Ash's Pokemon a manifestation of different parts of himself, the Pokemon of other trainers are as well. Koffing and Ekans are symbolic of Team Rocket's willingness to change, hence their evolutions. Once his mind was able to overcome the roadblock and allow him to change once, it gave him the chance to truly change. An interesting note is that Pupitar is a realization, a Pokemon a rival caught before they met. Even Ash would become suspicious if everyone he met had no carryover Pokemon from previous places he had been to. Other trainers are more directly forms of his issues, ones he must either come to terms with or outright suppress. Gym leaders are more primarily aspects of his personality, with each Pokemon being stronger than the last to display a level of skill he could only be capable if he gave into it. In effect, he is doing battle with part of him that he would rather not have in control. Originally, Ash had the battles which evolved into team battles and contests. Explanation for this is that his issues become more and more complicated, and the means dealing with them needed to become more complex. The fact that he uses this issue he has already dominated to win is a sign he's growing stronger. Ash releases his Pokemon because his mind is forcing him to get low go get let go of them. The second he raises an overpowered team, a tournament comes up, and after fighting his way through it, he has to go to a new land for new challenges. However, with an overpowered team, there wouldn't be any challenges or any way to motivate him further. With Ash, the Ash that wants to stay in the coma and keep journaling hands his solved issues over to Pokemon Professor Oak, so he can continue and overcome the unresolved ones. This is essentially his mind forcing him to deal with his issues. Ash's rival in the Elite Four are ultimately the strongest part of this cycle. Having Pokemon that are essentially godlike, they represent both what can be attained and what is unattainable. Ash's rivals are possible futures he envisions for himself. Note that they are all older than him. This originated with Gary Oak, someone Ash knew from real life, and built up a sort of god within his mind. However, Gary progressed and changed to suit Ash's vision of himself and ultimate desire, eventually settling down into a professor role after beating the Elite Four. With Gary Oak in retirement, his mind needed a new rival for him. Thus, bursts of Richie, the good aspect of his rivalry, and Paul. Paul in his mind's last-ditch efforts to snap him out of it, to force Ash to actually come to terms that this perfect world is not the best option or path to waking up. Paul is Ash's shadow, one that wants to push on even harder and harder. He is the part of Ash that will stop at nothing to escape the coma world. Mewtwo is a new form of treatment, done with electrical impulses and a machine to know Ash out of it, to get Ash out of it, taking down every last one of his mental guards, the original Pokemon in the movie. In Ash's mind, Mewtwo and his clones were, in the real world, the treatment for the mental safeguards that were protecting Ash and keeping him comatose, the Pokemon of his world. The clones were counters to the issues Ash had thought solved, and each appeared to Ash as the exact copy of his defiance. The clones didn't play the rules. Didn't play by the rules of Ash's world. They didn't use special attacks or moves. They just beat down their counterpart through brute strength. The treatment was working. There were side effects. The electric jolts were beginning to affect Ash's nervous system. If the treatment continued, he would be paralyzed. His mind manifested this in the dream world by petrifying him. Were it not for, in the end of the treatment by Ash's mother, who knew her son want to live in a world he couldn't explore, Ash would have remained as stone forever. After this, Ash needed to recover from the damage caused by the electric therapy. In order to reduce the danger, Ash's consciousness fell from it. His subconscious began downplaying the effects of the world, which is why Pikachu's electric attacks, once noted for their strength by Team Rocket, no longer have any effect on Ash other than comic relief. As we can see, Ash may well have been trapped forever in this world. However, like every dream, like everything, there's a beginning and an end. What would happen if Ash ever recovered? In his hospital room, we see Delilah, obviously distraught. She's talking to a doctor with a grim look on his face. The man is saying that her insurance is up and the boy has had no charge in brain activity in years. The shock of taking him off life support has very little chance of waking him. She tearfully agrees. Back in Ash's world, he has finally defeated the Elite Four, and, one by one, the people around him disappear. Eventually, everything is black. Pikachu comes dashing to him, glowing brighter and brighter in the darkness. Eventually, he reaches Ash and the two embrace one last time. In the hospital room, his life signs fading, Ash mutters his final words. I want to be the very best. He will die, never having known his dream, except it's not but a dream. When he came back to reality, he knew it all for the lie it was, knew it as his imagination. Knowing that all his efforts, ambitions, and friends were nothing, he will let go. As he utters his final words, he barely opens his eyes and sees the silhouette of his mother, her face hidden by her hands wiping away tears. They make eye contact, and one final realization fills him before he loses all strength. He sees his mother was holding out hope that he'd recover all the time. He sees her and finds that her hope had been broken as she'd come to the realization that she had outlived her only child. He dies knowing that he is loved, but that means that one person closest and most real to him is utterly crushed. Still, there are other possibilities. The fountain of time flows in mysterious ways. One could not go against the currents such as Gatsby. However, one could never see what is waiting for him downstream. Ash finally defeats Lance, only to be confronted not by Karaoke, but a mute mirror image of himself. The voice of the narrator speaks to him, telling him that he can now finally escape the prison of his mind. One by one, his friends disappear. His friends appear and melt away into more copies of himself, cheering him on. After a long, tough battle against himself with the assistance of all his Pokemon he had ever befriended, he jolts awake. In his hospital room, he sees his parents asleep. He finds himself unable to speak. Ash pushes forward through his recovery. He goes through physical therapy, training harder and harder with rehabilitative Pokemon until he can walk on his own again. This time, an older and wiser Ash sets out on a journey. Just like last time, he's late getting to Professor Oak's laboratory. When there's only one Pokemon left, he suddenly recalls all of his memories of his life and realizes all his friends are gone forever. As he sets out with his new companion, he finds the world is darker than he imagined, more real. Pokemon and people die. He, too, has aged. He vows to become the Pokemon Master he dreamed he was. He vows to himself. He vows to them, I will be the very best.